Revenge films.
My name is Sarah. One day, I was at home with my family when we saw on the news that a river close to where I live was flooding due to excessive rain in the area. As soon as my husband saw the news, he frantically picked up his phone and called his lover. I found out that he had a lover at the very moment. How dare he call his lover in front of me and the kids? I had no idea that he was having an affair. My daughter was shocked to find out and ran to her room in tears. The next day, my husband had left the house. No store would be open as early as 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning, so I was curious about where he had escaped to. My husband had been on the phone with his lover the night before. I had been planning to talk to my husband in the morning before the kids woke up, but he was already gone. It seemed that he had taken our only car, so I couldn't use it to go grocery shopping. I had to think about what I would say to the kids when they woke up. I couldn't think of anything because I was so distraught. Because I couldn't work it out with my husband, we decided to get a divorce. I was wrong to think that my husband of many years was loyal enough not to cheat on me. I'm going to explain about how my marriage began to fall apart. On Saturday evening, after dinner, our family was sitting in the living room watching the news on television. We saw on the news that due to heavy rain in our area, a river close by had flooded.
Do we need to evacuate?
No need to worry. Our house is in a safe place, and we'd never been impacted by a flood before. But the other side of the river has flooded at least twice in the past, so the residents there should probably evacuate to a safe place. As I was talking about this with my kids, my husband went into a panic and made a phone call.
Are you alright?
At first, I thought that he was speaking to his younger sister.
The north side of the river is dangerous, and your place could be flooded.
When I heard him say that, I realized that he wasn't talking to his sister because she lives on the south side of the river, just like us. And the loud voice I heard on the other side of the phone was not his sister's. My sister-in-law has a calm voice, and she's not the type to go crying for her brother's help. The kids and I were looking at my husband, wondering who he was talking to. My husband looked over at me. It wasn't a look of surprise. He just kept staring at me while he stayed on his phone. After some time, he got up and left the room.
Dad, where are you going?
My daughter followed my husband and left the room. All I could do was sit there in astonishment. My daughter caught my husband in the hallway, still on the phone to his lover.
Who are you talking to?
Someone from the office. I wanted to make sure they were okay.
You're lying! Let me talk to them!
My daughter tried to grab her father's phone from him,
Stop it! I'm hanging up now!
but he didn't hang up the phone. He tried to fight off his daughter so that she couldn't get a hold of his phone. My son joined the fight and grabbed the phone out of his father's hand. My husband tried to deny it all, but we found hard evidence on his phone. In the end, my husband had no choice but to give in. The following morning, my husband planned his escape from our home to his lover's place. He was unreachable on his phone at that point. He took our only car with him, so this made things very inconvenient for me. A few days had passed, and it was now Wednesday. When I came home from work, I saw that our car had been returned to the garage, but my husband was nowhere to be seen. A few more days passed, and we finally received a chat message from my husband.
Can I come home now? I want to talk with you guys.
What is there to talk about? You disgust me! How can you consider coming home to us after spending 3 nights with your lover?
After my daughter sent a reply, we didn't hear back from him. I think I need to talk to him, even if it means that we are either getting separated or divorced.
There's no need to talk to him. I don't ever want to live with him again. I want you to divorce him. I don't want him to be my father anymore.
She couldn't forgive her father for the fact that he ran away to his lover without sorting things out with his family first. My son searched the internet for ways to find evidence on infidelity. I was still too shocked to become angry, so my daughter was getting angry for the two of us. I wanted more time to speak to my children, but I was too busy with work on the weekdays to make time. I called my mother and told her about the possibility of my filing for divorce, but I hadn't informed my parents-in-laws yet. No matter how much time I spent thinking to myself, I knew that the marriage was irreparable. And just like my daughter, I didn't want my husband to come home, and I felt disgusted with him. After talking it over with my kids, we decided to visit my parents and tell them what was happening. I'm the type that doesn't like to turn back once a decision has been made. so I sometimes have to ask my mother to stop me if I go too far. I plan on telling my parents-in-law after consulting with my own family first. My in-laws are nice, but they will probably take their son's side. I checked how much savings we had as a household and also the rights to the home that we lived in. I might need to get a lawyer, but I suppose I would consult with my parents first. While my husband was staying at a nearby hotel, I sorted out my life to prepare for the life ahead of me without my husband. I knew that if I left my husband, I would need to work harder to provide for my kids. Despite this, my kids wanted their father out of the picture.
I don't ever want to see him again. If I do, I might strangle him. I'm gonna apply for a scholarship to go to college and get a job as well. Our father deserted us when a flood could have hurt us, and yet he went to see his lover. He chose her over us.
I don't want you to stay with him for the sake of financial stability. I'll help out too by getting a job.
With my children's support, I was able to inform my parents of my final decision.
I'm upset that he cheated on you, but I'm more upset that he had the audacity to not hide it from his children. He let down his whole family. For that, I won't forgive him.
Are you sure that you don't need more time to think it through? We will support your final decision.
I considered my father's advice, but my children and I were set on the evidence, so the time came to inform my parents-in-law.
It must be some sort of misunderstanding.
But when I showed them the evidence, they were speechless.
I think you should stay married for the kids. You two will be able to work this out.
To that, my children responded strongly against his words.
I'm only thinking about your happiness.
In the end, we left my in-laws on bad terms. And then my husband started to say that he wanted to come home to us. He even told me that he was still in love with me. To that I said, I've already started working on the divorce papers. I also want full ownership of this house. I'm sure you agree that I deserve this in exchange for what you've done. Your daughter says that she doesn't want to breathe the same air as you, so if you intend on coming back, then we'll be the ones leaving this house. After that, we talked about splitting our assets and alimony payments. When hearing all this, my husband panicked and came over to the house right away.
Don't you love me anymore?
You prioritized your lover over your family, so don't act like you know what love is. You don't deserve to be loved.
After embarrassing ourselves to the neighbors, my parents-in-law came to pick up my husband. Because my husband had acknowledged the affair, my mother-in-law had no choice but to side with me on the divorce. While my father-in-law still sided with my husband, the others and I prepared to go to court. I found myself a lawyer and got him to take care of the divorce settlements. The divorce was finalized, and I was due to receive a $15,000 alimony from my husband's lover. In the settlement, I received the house, saving and assets of the house. As alimony, my husband covered the mortgage payments for the house and the car. He had to leave our family penniless and take on our loans, and I received child support in one lump sum.
If he ever comes back, I'll chase him around with a kitchen knife and scare him away.
My daughter, who was usually quiet and reserved, grew into a tough and mature young woman over this incident. In a way, I feel bad that she needs to act tough to get through this.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.